Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you enjoyed lunch. My name is Amir Kirsh, and we're going to discuss together the future of software programming with AI bots at hand. A few words about myself. I'm a lecturer at the Academic College of Tel-Aviv-Yaffo, trainer and advisor, co-organizer of the Core CPP conference in Tel Aviv, and the same meetup group. The goals of the talk are to discuss, as we said, the future of programming with AI bots, practice a bit, and think together on getting prepared to the new era that we're in a way, I guess. There are 7 chapters. I will not list them here. We'll go through them one by one. And at the end of each chapter, feel free to comment. We'll have a short discussion or questions at the end of each chapter. So be alerted for that. Let's start with an intro. So large language models, we are talking about them. What are they? So with the help of a friend, ChatGPT, I got this definition. We're talking about artificial intelligence systems that generates natural language text. Maybe they can understand. And generate human-like language text, can track conversation and consider previous interactions, simulate real human conversation. And eventually, it is good also for programming. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, is arguing that language model just being programmed to try to predict the next word is true. Yes, if you heard about it is only a machine trying to predict the next word, yes, this is what it is. But don't take it as, only that. It's much smarter than that. I mean, maybe this is how we work as humans. Animals are also some kind of maybe primitive machine trying to reproduce and survive. Then Grady Butch, who is very conservative, hesitating about the real power of AI, is arguing to compare the simplicity of large language models with the complexity of embodied sentient organism is respectively laughable. And Chris Dancy is saying, my spouse has been predicting my next word since the day we got married. So predicting the next word is not exactly what these machines are doing. They predict the next token. And actually, a word might be split into several tokens. And this is important because if you are using the non-free models, you pay per token. So, having less tokens or getting back less tokens would be less costly. Anyhow, you can see the question on the right, on the left, what's the best software programming language after C++? It is 11 tokens. I will not show you the result of this question. Anyhow, this comes from the tokenizer, which is open. You can see on the link. And on the right, you can see a real program in C++. And you'll see that the tokenizer is splitting the words quite as probably as a compiler would do. I mean, I see the int, the main, the parens. Yeah, I mean, if I would have to pay for that, I would just drop the stud, colon. Anyhow. So this was, it reads the tokens and then it predicts the next tokens. Can it think and innovate, feel? So Grady Butch says, no, not until a machine can write a sonnet or compose a concerto or maybe write a song. And then Eric Nibler, who maybe you know from the C+ community, is arguing, and how do you know that our thoughts and emotions are not due to the chance fall of symbols? So this is quite a philosophical discussion. Do you know that 97% of all articles in Wikipedia, if you follow the first link, then after some steps, you will reach the philosophy entry in Wikipedia. So everything leads to philosophy at the end. You can read about that. So LLM usages are quite wide. I mean, we can use it for questioning and answering, like what is LLM? We can use it for writing essays or songs, phrasing, text summarization, and coding. Let's take a short diversion and write a song. So I was a bit curious, maybe, to share with you a song. Let's do it with the help of ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT, I'm presenting at ACCU, which is a C+ conference. Well, not only, it's software language agnostic, but mainly focusing on C++. Anyway, I want to present a short poem related to the conference. Rhymes would be a plus. You can understand that I'm not paying per token here. I'm using the free version. And I got back this one, which I really like. First shot. Didn't have to manipulate it. This is what I got. That sounds like a creative idea. He is always, giving back good feedback. Here's a short poem for your presentation at ACCU. In the realm where coders meet at ACCU, where minds compete. From C++ gurus to novices green. A haven for all, where brilliance is seen. Languages varied. You remember that it is not only C++. Yet hearts aligned. In the pursuit of solutions refined. With coders our canvas, we craft with delight, innovating by day and sharing insights by night. You know something about the lightning talks. So let's gather together a community strong at ACCU where we all belong, for in this shared journey of learning and fun, we celebrate the heart of coding until our work is done. That's brilliant. Wow, that's quite artistic. By the way, the picture is real. It's not AI generated. I took it on the way here. The UK guys here can guess where is it. So what's new? I mean, neural networks were here. Natural language processing was here before. What is new? So the things that are new are improved performance, new kind of models, much larger and capable models, built without a need for human intervention, better understanding of the context, and multilingual support. So eventually, there is something new here, which is the power of the model that eventually brings us results that pass the Turing test of, is it a human talking with me? And yet there are some current limitations that we have to take into account. First and for all, high computing power requirements. I mean, NVIDIA doesn't have enough machines or TSMC doesn't have enough capacity to produce the required hardware for the next models that we'll need. So there is some kind of computing power limitation here. High dependency on data quality, which is an issue. I mean, how do you know that you feed the models with quality data and not garbage in, garbage out? Limited understanding of causality and limited creativity, even though I would say that I would not come up with such a nice song. Limited ability to understand emotions, hallucinations. We do that probably the same, but when the model doesn't have an answer, the model feels obliged to answer something, so you will see, some kind of hallucinations. You can ask in the prompt, if you're not sure, just say that it cannot be done, and then you can maybe get better results. And it may be lured to get false or unethical, racist, non-politically answers. Can LLM replace programmers? I mean, we're all here to get the answer for that. So I think the question is not whether it can replace programmers, not for the coming years, probably. Can it make programmers more productive or significantly more productive? And that's the question that we want to answer. And if it can make us more productive, it means that some of us would have to go because the others would do the work with the LLM. So before OpenAI, before we had OpenAI or other LLMs, developer was coding 2 hours and then debugging 6 hours. And with ChatGPT, you code for 5 minutes and then you debug for 24 hours. At least this is the cartoon. I mean, is this the case? If this is the case, then we are secured. Okay, nothing to worry. But probably it is not. And I will discuss with you some examples showing you that, no, we are not quite on that side. So let's try to explore, is it a good tool or a bad tool? Will it change the way that we work and how we can utilize it? And that's the end of chapter 1. If anybody has any comment or question on the intro. Yes, there is one here. Thank you.
Very interesting. I thought of this before. One of the limitations, can AI limit human creativity? Because, for example, you didn't even try to make that poem. It did already. Oh. So it limits your creativity.
That's a good question. Would the result be that human creativity would be affected, would be limited? Because, I mean, can you navigate today? If you go into the car and you have to drive somewhere, maybe even somewhere that you knew how to drive to, can you do it today? Not all of us. Do you remember phone numbers? I used to remember phone numbers back then. Today, no. So yeah, it would change our mind, I guess, in a way. Yeah, it might be. We should be aware. Maybe we should be cautious not to take it too far. I mean, not to lose our creativity. It's a good point. Any other comment? Yeah.
If I might just add to this, I've been teaching programming to business students who don't have a very close understanding of programming. In the years before ChatGPT, the tasks that I gave them would work very well. With ChatGPT, all of them failed. Essentially, with the task, they didn't fail in the course, but with the task they were given, they failed because they were using ChatGPT and trying to debug with ChatGPT what ChatGPT got wrong in the first place. So in that sense, yeah, we're actually at risk in losing the strength of people learning in the first place because they have limited access to it, because they have good tools with it.
That's another very good point that, that relates both to teaching, to the way that we work with juniors, what should be our expectations of working with such tools. And we'll touch some of those points. I will continue to our next chapter, which is asking, do we have here a silver bullet? Herb Sutter just raised the term silver bullet. I don't know if you know this term. I mean, probably you were, dealing with werewolves, so from that myth, you know that. But from software programming world, software engineering, a paper by Fred Brooks, 1986, he was discussing, he was predicting that in a decade from 1986, a few decades passed since then, there wouldn't be any significant change in order of magnitude in the productivity of software development. And the reason that he stated was that when you look at the effort being required for software development, you see that there are two obstacles, two things that engineers need to deal with. The first is accident, and the other one is the essence. And the accident part is like complicated syntax. Okay, maybe we can have another language with easiest syntax. But the essence is taking a problem domain and translating it into something formal. And his argument was that the essence of this translation of a problem domain into a formal language is something that is not going to be solved or significantly improved in the coming decade from his paper 1986. This picture was taken in Uppsala 2005. They were discussing the same paper and what is our state. I took the picture back then. I was giving a talk there on Java. Mind me for that. And essence and accident in software development is something that is still discussed. It's still in the question of, do we solve the essence or the accident? Do we change something that is in the heart of things or something that is peripheral? So yeah, better quality and debugging tools are important. Do they actually change the way that we work? What can change the essence part? Probably it requires some external technology. probably there is a need for something which is not just an idea. Other things that might have changed the essence didn't change it, didn't significantly improve productivity, like new paradigms. Object-oriented programming was evolving back then. It didn't change things to make it much more productive. New software languages and rapid application development, IntelliSense, better compiler errors, the internet. The internet changed things for the industry, for other industries, not so much for software development. I mean, we can reach examples, documentation quite easily, but it didn't make us much more productive. There are silver bullets in other domains. If you want to compare it, are there any silver bullets anywhere? Yes, there are. Gunpowder was a silver bullet for winning wars. The Industrial Revolution, modern transportation, vaccines, the computer, the internet was, in a way, silver bullet for other domains, satellites. What's common with all this list? Some technology. There is some kind of a technology. Because usually if there isn't any technology, then if it is only a change of doing things, then probably somebody did it already. The bar is too low. Oh, we just did it. So there is some kind of a need for an external technology to change things. Not always, not always. You can think about things that changed significantly the way things are being done without external technology, like the Fosbury flop. There isn't any external technology, just the way that things are being done, and we can jump higher. Writing, democracy, maybe, or maybe it is the technology. Do you have a silver bullet for software development? Now, that's a question. I mean, if the answer is yes, we will see some kind of a significant productivity change in the coming years. We still don't know. I don't know the answer. I'll ask you in a moment, what do you think? So that's a question. And we're at the end of chapter 2, and maybe you can share your thoughts. Do you think that we are having some kind of a silver bullet?
I think the way I see this is it's another language. It's another level of abstraction in a way. That's one way of thinking.
It's another language, which means that yet another language.
Yes, and it's going to require, as with any technology, it requires you to wake up a little bit more to use it properly. It's too easy, like we do, like you mentioned, to go to sleep.
Which means that as the same as object-oriented programming came in and didn't change our productivity in a significant way. Oh, you do say that OOP was a significant change that...
Having programmed before.
Okay, okay, yeah. Okay, other thoughts?
Yeah, if I may. For me, test-driven development and conscious unit testing and test automation was a significant change in productivity, not for myself, but also for all the students that I taught. And comment on OOP. OOP was the first concept where programmers were able to write their own types and modeling whatever they wanted to as an entity, not just by convention.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big thing. It's not polymorphism.
It's a big thing.
The modeling of types that was the breakthrough that was in the hand of many more people.
So we had here 2 points. First, testing in the broader sense, and yes, having your own types, something significant. The question is, for testing, it's 1 point. For the other one, did it actually change the industry productivity? We'll keep that aside. That's a question. Yeah, another comment. Thank you.
I think key thing that is going to be a thing is, can AI recognize an XY problem?
Oh, that's a question.
How many times have you ever had a situation, you're talking to a colleague or a friend about, oh, I'm trying to do this like that, and they say, why are you doing it that way? There's a better way.
That is a good point. I mean, it might divert us. It relates to the other one of creativity, of thinking. If it would stop us from thinking, it might be that it will solve the problems that we ask it to solve, but these are not the problems that we actually need to solve in our code. which is the XY problem. We try to solve something, then we have in mind something that we need to do, but no, this is not the way to do it. There should be another way.
Yeah, sorry. Mine was yet another thing that changed things significantly, that probably enabled OOP the way we know it today, is the work from partners, modularity, information hiding. You know, that opened up the doors for libraries, frameworks, things we can reuse without having to write the same code again and again.
Yeah. So modularity libraries, I think they all came before Fred Brooks' paper. So he is not referring to that. He's referring to the same time.
If you have the second edition of the book, basically
Manpower.
saying partners was right, I was wrong. Because at the time, Fred Brooks thought that partners was actually talking rubbish.
Okay, that's a nice point. Yeah.
I need to reread the book because I think he did not say that.
Not in the book, it's in an article that he wrote after that.
Yes, in 10 years.
The second edition of the book is at the end, I think.
Yes, and he argues that the prediction still holds. I need to reread the book.
We will take that offline. We'll check that. We'll check that, okay, and we'll come up with...
what I wanted to say originally is that Brooks defined this as a 10x improvement. And personally, I've been obsessed by this 10x, and I tried to look at different stuff, and I never found a 10x. I did find 1 point something. I did find a 2 point something.
And do you think that LLM would be a 10x?
I don't think we can get there, but depends on how we measure stuff.
I mean, can
really
one programmer with LLM replace 10 programmers without? That's the question. Okay, let's try to explore that. I mean, let's try to explore that, because then the question is, how can we utilize large language models for our development cycle? It's not only programming. I would start with requirements. So starting with requirements, can AI model verify requirements? I would start with that. Verifying requirements is something quite important, and the AI has the ability to pass and go through quite a lot of tokens, 1.5 million in one of the models, which eventually might be more than the context that we can take. So let's try that with very small examples. Identifying inconsistencies. So I tried with ChatGPT here. It is with ChatGPT 3.5. Later I will try with you other things. Hello, I will give you a few sentences and you should tell if something is unreasonable or there is any contradiction. ACCU conference happens once a year. I think it happens more than once a year, maybe maybe now it is once a year. Anyhow, this is the sentence. You should take it as is. This year ACCU is happening in April. This year ACCU is happening in the summer. What would the LLM would say? So this is the reply. ACCU conference happens once a year. Reasonable statement indicating that the conference occurs annually. The second one is also reasonable, and then the third one is contradicting. This sentence contradicts the previous statement, etc., because April is not in the summer. That's nice. I mean, it's small, but it can grow. It's a start. I mean, I can check it with larger, corpus. It would hold in a way. It would go there in a way better than we do, I think. Okay, let's try to challenge it a bit more. Let's try to challenge it. Okay, so this time ACCU happens twice a year, in April and in the summer, which sounds feasible. I mean, that should hold. Then it says on the third one, this statement contradicts the previous one still. Why? It happens twice. Didn't you follow? It is twice now, not once. No, he lost me. Okay, maybe he lost me because the previous context is still there, but no, you got new context. I don't know, he lost me. So I thought, okay, let's write it with ChatGPT 4, which is embedded in Copilot. So I went to Copilot chat. We'll play with that together in a moment. And gave the same thing to Copilot, which is running with GPT-4. And this is the same thing. And then Copilot came with this notion. As an AI programming assistant, I'm here to help with software development topics. I'm afraid I can't verify the schedule of conferences. The rest reasonable? Okay, I have to take it in another way. Okay, I want to check the validity of the following requirements before writing code. It's a coding assignment, okay? Okay, it's a coding assignment, I'm with you now. As an AI programming assistant, I don't have real-time data or ability to verify real-world events, but because it's a programming assignment, requirements could be interpreted in a programming context and here and there is no contradiction at the end, which there isn't any, because twice a year and GPT-4 is fine with me. By the way, the problem with I'm a coding assistant is because I'm doing it through Copilot. If I go back to Copilot with once, it will get it wrong, I guess. There seems to be a contradiction between the first requirement and the second and the third, even though oh, no, you got it right. You got it right. There is once, and yeah. Okay, so we can use these tools for requirement validation. This is a very small example, but yeah, we'll come up with. Then, by the way, Copilot came up with a proposal. Do you want me to code something? He is very eager. And I said, he just gave me this one. And I said, yes. He said, do you want to ask me how can I represent this in code? And I said, yeah, let's try this prompt. And then he came up with, I think a pear would be nice. Okay. Okay. We can also verify completeness. I will give you a set of requirements for a service. Tell me if they are reasonable and complete. The service shall get a city symbol, Bristol. The service shall return the weather at this city. A nice service, right? Nice, reasonable one. Go and program that. And then, of course, change because the requirements are not complete, I would say. So the requirements you provided are not completely clear and may need some additional information. Now, it is nice because it helps me creating the email back to the system engineer that sent me this set of requirements. I need to type, I cannot do that. The requirements are too narrow. I get the email, ready. I'm missing, what is a city symbol? Is there any list of city symbols? What is the format of the input? What is the expected format of the output? There are a lot of questions here. Good ones. It came up, she came up with that on her own. What is the frequency? I didn't think about that, but yeah, it's a frequency question. Should we cache it? Should we go to the service, the weather service every time? I don't know. In general, it would be helpful to provide more detailed information. This is perfect. Just send it back to the product manager or whatever. I will give you a set of requirements for a service, another one. The service should get 2 numbers indicating speed and time. The service should return the distance passed for the given speed and time. I will call this service a function, but okay. The requirements you provided are reasonable and complete. They specify the input, etc., etc. I don't think it is complete, so I argue again. Suppose that I want the requirements to be very strict. Would you suggest to amend them? If yes, how? I'm pushing it to, please, let me know if there is something missing there. Okay, if you do want it to be very strict, then maybe you should specify the units of measurement. And maybe you should specify any limitations on the range of input values. I didn't think about that. But that's a reasonable thing to add to the requirements. Specify data types and formats, specify the error conditions that service should handle, etc. So yeah, I think it thinks better than I do. I would use it. Can AI model verify requirements? I would say for the toy examples that I used, yes. For a bigger requirement document, I would also say yes, but we have to check it. We'll have to get to that, and yes, it will do that, I presume. Can it write requirements or a design doc? So people tried that. Jonathan Mueller, I don't know if he's in ACCU this year, but he asked ChatGPT to create a document, ISO proposal for enum to string. C++ is lacking that. There is a need for that. And ChatGPT came with a quite good proposal. He said, maybe I need just to amend it a bit, and yeah, the proposal is in the format of ISO proposal. He's not the only one who tried the same thing. They didn't know one about the other. Vittorio Romeo tried the exact same thing. I mean, people are missing the enum to string. So he asked for the very similar thing and got, again, a proposal. Yes, it can write documents by a very simple prompt. So, requirements. I think there is quite strong tool for that. What do you think?
Not specific about requirements, but when you say things it cannot or cannot do, how reproducible it is. If I would try the same thing, would I get the same results?
So it is affected by the context. So it remembers the context that was in the previous discussion, in the current discussion. It might be that you'll get other results. I think that if the context is clear, we should get, and the prompt is the same, we should get the same results. But probably it depends on the model. I see here nods for no. Maybe it depends on other factors. But I don't think that the question of predictability or determinism is quite important for the question of how productive it is. We are not deterministic, and I tend to think that occasionally we are productive, so it should be, even if it is not deterministic. Maybe even it is more. Maybe not being deterministic is a good thing. You can, try it again. It will think again. Yeah. Any other comment? A mic. Yeah, that it should be recorded. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so I think it's a very powerful tool to validate certain things, but from your example, you had to push it many times to give you the right answer. So I would say maybe it's not independently correct. So you have to keep monitoring its.
Yeah. I was working as a team leader and a development manager in the industry. I had to push my employees as well. I mean, they didn't do the right thing on the first prompt. So I'm used to it. I mean, it's not something new for me, but yeah, in some cases, you need to ask something more than once. Do you have kids? I mean, we know that, okay? This is not something that is a real challenge for us as humans. If we don't get what we want, we just have to ask it again, usually with another tone, with another phrasing. Yeah. Let's continue to our next chapter, which is coding and testing. And we will spend some time here because this is the heart of things. Can it actually code? Can it actually help with coding tasks? So let's start with the notion that generating a system based on requirements is not something new. David Ariel had a few papers on the subject, and he and his team created a system that can go through requirements in a very formal way, very formal requirements, and produce a system from the requirements. But it's not the same thing that we see here, because creating code for requirements where the requirements are quite vague, are not so formal, are not very close to an actual code, that is a challenge. So I will not take that as an example of, oh, things were done already. Yes, but not in the same manner. If you have a very formal requirements language, then maybe it's software programming language in a way. Okay, so I will not go through that. So we want something a bit more open. Dan Schipper is writing about artificial intelligence and those models, and he was trying to create ChatGPT based on GPT API. So there is the GPT API, and he wants to create the interface, the web interface for that. And he said he created the challenge for himself of, can I do it with 10 prompts? So I will spare you the tension, and he succeeded. In 10 prompts, he had the web application that imitates ChatGPT based on the GPT API. I mean, he didn't create GPT in 10 prompts yet, but that one. So yeah, it can help us create actual code, actual application. We'll play a bit with GPT, then we'll play a bit with Copilot. Let's start with GPT. Calculating distance. We discussed distance before. So could you please implement a function in C++ that gets time and speed and returns distance? No need for a main function, because if I don't say no need for main function, I will get also the main and, and a lot of stuff that I don't need. So yes, sure, here it is. Double time, double speed, time, speed. Yeah. But this is not what I want, because what I want is type safety. I don't have type safety there. I mean, what are the measurement units? I want to work with measurement units. Certainly, one way to add type safety is to have a struct for distance holding 3 doubles. No, I have to ask it again. This is not what I wanted. I wanted something that holds measurement units. So I'm coming back. No, I want type safety as in the chrono library. I mean, I'm talking like with a person. If I would be talking with a person, I would say, like in the chrono library, Then it comes up with, oh, I apologize for the misunderstanding. If you want that, maybe I'll add chrono. Yes, there is time there. And maybe for the kilometers, I would have type def. Type def is not type safety. Type def is just, another name for the type. I want type safety. Duration is type safety. So I'm a bit worried about the kilometers per hour. I know that sounds like, okay, I need that as kilometers per hour, but if someone would provide it as miles per hour, the code wouldn't see that. So I want something a bit stronger. I was advised against using of entire namespace, I say to ChatGPT. This is one thing. And I also want type def to be replaced with something which is a bit more type safe. Okay, so you are correct. With that in mind, here is the updated example. And I get some kind of a class which I didn't ask for. I don't know, no. You understand. It's a discussion. Now, it might be that newer models would get me right more, quickly. But still, I'm eager. I won't let it go. So I want to calculate distance based on a global multiplication functions. I mean, I didn't ask for a class for holding the entire thing. Just, a global function. And if I need type safety, just the type for the measurement unit. And then it comes up with, okay, I got you. Distance. Okay, there is the distance. Being templated over type, which might be the measurement unit, speed, I don't know. Eventually, it came up with something that looks quite what I wanted, I think. I still have some reservation about, do you see the reservation that I have here about these T1 and T2 in the code? It is instantiating T1 and T2, which might not have an empty constructor. Using declval would be better, but I stopped here. I said, okay, sounds like what I wanted in a way. Let's go to another one. It was quite hard. I mean, I would write it myself, maybe quicker. I don't know, maybe not. Comparing to 0. I came to this question of comparing to 0. And I need an efficiency function that checks if all elements in the vector are 0. The function should work for any type of element that are trivially comparable. Which means that they can be compared byte-wise. Okay? So I got something with type trait checking is trivially comparable. There isn't such type trait in the language. There was a proposal for that. There isn't. So I cannot use it. I mean, I can try. The compiler will not take it. The rest is also not what I wanted, because the rest is a loop. The idea was I don't want to loop over the elements. I mean, this is not the efficient way to byte compare. Okay, so I have to be more persuasive in my prompt. Try to, to get it to what I want. It seems that comparing to 0 is big in bigger chunks, e.g., 64 bits using memcmp. I'm just feeding it. Might be more efficient. Oh yeah, I can do something like that, and then there is a mem compare call over there somewhere. And still, I think that somewhere there was the is trivially comparable, which I don't have. So I tell it the use of is trivially comparable is not standard. Can you replace it with something? Yes, maybe I can with is trivially copyable. No, it's not the same thing. it would not work. I mean, it would check something, it would compile. It's not the thing that you need to check. Okay, it provided code that was not bad. I mean, the chunk thing, wrong usage of non-existing type trait, and a note, there is an alignment question of whether the first element on the spanded on the buffer that you run on is aligned. If it is not aligned, it might be an issue with mem compare. There are proposals about that as well by Inba Levy, which I think was here before. Anyway, it helped. Oh, why did I get here? Because I pressed something. Let's go back here and do that again. Okay, and continue from here. I mean, it was an effort. You can understand that it doesn't help all the time. Variadic pack short circuit evaluation. I needed something to be working with variadic pack, but to be short circuit. So if a function returns true in the pack of function calls, then stop there, okay? Quite a simple assignment, but you know, it's variadic pack. I prefer something else to write it for me. So I got something like that, which eventually didn't work. I mean, if we go through the code, something is broken there. So I came back with, it seems that the stop condition met flag is not set to true. There is a flag, but nothing sets it to true, so it doesn't really work. So I take the work of reviewing the code. I'm working with a junior here, if you see. So in a way, I gave up a junior from the team maybe and took another one. I don't know whether he's better or not. So I got something else. Now stop condition met is being set to true, but not in the context where it is there. It is not accessible where it is being, I mean, it doesn't compile the code. If it would be compiling the code, it would see the errors, and then maybe it can take the errors and reheal itself. We'll discuss that. If this can be done, we will reach another step. We are there already because there are tools who are doing that. So eventually it came up with something that is working, and then I created, I asked it, can you do it with C++ 17 fold expression? Because it was not, it was 14. I prefer 17, I'm in 20. Okay, here is with C++ 17, that works, that's okay. I don't think that I need the variable there, but I'm fine with the variable if he prefers. And that works, eventually. Okay, and it's not so simple. I mean, if I would have need to write that, it's a bit complicated. And I use that for some example that I was presenting in class. Okay, it's not the exact same thing, but now that I have the code, I can easily use it. Let's talk about explaining code. In some cases, I see code. Maybe I have to maintain code, and I don't understand what is there. And I need to explain the code. Or I get an assignment, and the assignment is, you know, to do something with a piece of code, to call it. But I need first to understand what is there. So I gave it a code that was, you cannot read it. It's quite small. But some kind of complicated code of a factory that creates with algorithms based on a map of algorithms. And I don't think that he saw the code anywhere else. I don't think so. I don't think so, you know, that, oh, he knows what he sees because he saw the code somewhere. And no, that's something new. And I got this explanation, which is quite good. I mean, when I read it, I say, oh, you're explaining that much better than I would do. Except for a few mistakes. So one mistake was, wrongly it said that there was a function pointer there. It wasn't a function pointer, I think it was a functor, a function object. Okay. In another place it says that some kind of thing contains a public vector. It wasn't a public vector, it was a private vector. Okay, everybody makes some mistakes. I mean, we'll not throw it just because of that. And that's it. Eventually the explanation was quite good. Then I continue with another question of using that code. I said, okay, in respect to the code above, can you explain the following? And there is some kind of function with a macro. It's complicated, okay? And I got quite good explanation. You'll get the slides. You can read it. Not now because it's quite long. So eventually, and it is not rubbish. It's not that, it's just, putting words. You read it, and it is valuable. So let's summarize. The provided explanation for a short yet quite complicated piece of code was pretty good. There were 2 minor mistakes that could be easily spotted and fixed. These mistakes were not changing the essence of things. So I think that for using that for explaining code is valuable. I would use it. What about fixing code? So in the code that I'm going to show you, there is a deliberate bug, okay? It's a deliberate bug because I had this bug, I fixed the bug, and then I said, oh, let's ask ChatGPT to see whether he can fix it as well. So I don't know if you will see it, so maybe I will point you to the bug. Can you now see the bug? I'm creating a struct for a common return type, and inside the common return type is using the type trait stud common reference angle brackets t's 3 dots. And it compiles, but this type doesn't actually represent the type that I want. It represents something else. It is not representing the common type, it represents the type trait that holds the common type. The thing that I'm missing there is the _t, okay? And it compiles, because eventually this is a type, but not the type that I wanted. I wanted the underlying type that is accommodated, that is inside the type trait. I mean, this is a bug that can be done. So I gave it to ChatGPT. It came up with the wrong explanation. The explanation is not the actual problem. Some, this and that, everything's wrong. But it came up with new code that changed or added 2 characters, _t, at the right place. So I got back the result. I mean, I got back the thing that should be amended with the wrong explanation. I don't care about the explanation if it compiles, and I can explain it now. So I guess it's, I don't know. I prefer the working code. I will drop the explanation. Eventually, the code that it provided was fixing the problem, and I think that, in a way, it sees that, oh, when I see something like that, when I saw, something like that, usually it came up with _t at that place. So anyway, again, I'm pressing the wrong key every time, and you see the history of the same thing. So let's go back and press that again. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so what's the problem here? I'm asking ChatGPT, can you check if the following code is valid? I have a vector of 2 elements, 1 and 2. I push back 3. Then I come to the 3rd element. No, it's not the 3rd element. And I put 42 there. And the problem is out of bounds. Out of bounds. I've talked about that, right? It's either out of bounds check by the compiler or ChatGPT. I mean, you should take one of those. Or static analysis. So I asked ChatGPT, do you see something problematic here? And it came up with, yeah, you are attempting to go to a non-existing element. That's good. It understands the code. I would, in a way, use it as part of my static analysis or as part of my code review process. Take a look at the code. Do you see something smelly? It might be that it would point at things which are fine. Okay, I will, put my logic in, but that's good. Let's summarize. The code was perfectly fixed with the first one, but the explanation was wrong. Case 2, the code was perfectly fixed, and the explanation was perfect. I mean, it is a very, you see it, the problem, but he saw that too. Let's think about, can we have a system where code would be self-healing? I mean, you will have code, you'll ask, or you'll ask ChatGPT or the LLM to provide code, and then it will compile the code, see the errors, feed them back to the model, and eventually give you code that compiles and maybe even passes the tests. That's a great idea. People started doing that already. So there is a project in Python. Bryce will be talking here tomorrow, I think, maybe, at a talk in Core C++, the conference that I'm one of the organizers, and C++C on that thing with a project that he created in C++. So yes, it is going there. And there are commercial projects doing some, things like that as well. Yeah, it would be much stronger than just getting code which is untested or not compiled. Yeah, it can compile the code if you have some kind of a plugin or additional system for that. What about testing? So this time I went with Java using BDD, behavioral-driven design, I think, development, and trying to convert some requirement to Jerkin. The example is credited to Ron Roseman, which came up with that. And, oh, you cannot read it. Anyhow, it came up with a very nice example of a test. Then I said, oh, it's not what I want because you didn't parameterize the test. And it came up with something that you can still not read, which do parameterize the test. Then eventually I have some kind of a test that I can use. And I can ask, can you give me the Java code that runs this Jerkin code? And yeah, it works. So it can create tests for you. Now let's have some live demo for GitHub, for GitHub Copilot. For Copilot, we have two different separate extensions. I will use it in Visual Studio. One is Copilot Chat, which works quite similarly to ChatGPT. And the other one is Copilot itself, which is in the IDE. You just type and like with self-complete, like with autocomplete, it completes or suggests code. So that's time for live demo. Let's do some. I have a pre-prepared project with a fancy name, Project 1, with a MyString class already prepared, okay? Even with some move semantics. And I have here also, do you see it? Maybe you now see it, okay? This is the MyString class. And I have also a main. The main is empty. What can we do with an empty main? Start to type main, right? This is what I would do. Whoa. I got something. For some reason, Copilot decided that my main need to hold a few MyStrings objects. I think it is because it has the context of the MyString class right beside. So, oh, you have a MyString class, so maybe you want in the main these. Yeah, it would be a nice example of using MyString that you see there. Okay, that's nice, but it doesn't compile. So since it doesn't compile, maybe I can do a alt / and then summon a fix. I think that the problem is includes. Okay, so he thinks, yeah, maybe I can make it compile. He thinks too much. Oh, yeah, okay, so it says, I'm in the main. It shows me something. This is not what I had before, because what I see here, that it actually puts inside, it suggests to put inside the main, which was not what I had tried before, which is a nice thing, you know, live demo, always you get new things. Just to pour in the entire MyString class. Let's accept it. It's not what I want, but let's accept it and see. Okay, so now in the main I have include to IOStream, include to utility, and the entire MyString class. No, that is not what I wanted. Now I'm almost sure that when I tried the fix include before, which means it is not deterministic, maybe it remembers that when I tried it before and then I removed the includes, it remembered that it did something wrong. So it now tries to please me with, no, during the presentation I will do something else. Anyhow, oh, do you see it? Okay, I do want the MyString. I don't think that I need utility. And now I think that we have a nice main. Usually the example that is given is this is prime function. Checks if a number is prime. Yes, exactly. Yeah, this is what I want. Yeah, this is what I want. So I just typed the comment, and I got a function which I don't like, because it's not the most efficient way to implement is prime. But it is working. I mean, this is the code that you would work with. Get used to it, okay? You will have in your code base code that was injected by the machines, which works, but not always the best code that you would write, okay? Yeah, it would improve over time. What else can we have? Oh, we can start, writing code int Fibonacci. Yeah, he knows that I want Fibonacci, and I get the Fibonacci. Okay, so these are simple, but I used it for more sophisticated things, like I need to flip a matrix, and I start the function, and whoop, I got the code. Not the code that I wanted, and then no, I don't want it with this way of folding the matrix. It's a matrix of points, and then I get a fix, and yes, it works quite well. So this is a very short example of doing things here. Let's go to the myString thing here. There is something missing here. I don't know if you will notice. I will go quickly through that, okay? You have to be very sharp eye. I'm going quickly through that. What is missing? Yeah, a distractor, okay. Count your points. I will press enter, and Copilot will agree. Yes, you're missing a distractor. Hey, that's good. I tend to miss a distractor occasionally. I got it now. That's good. Other things that I can do. I can do alt/ and ask it, document. Can you please document it? Would I get something? It will think. I guess that I will get the documentation saying this is a distractor. And then I can cancel or accept. If I accept, it goes into, oh, it documented the entire class. Okay. Another thing that I don't like here is that the size is int. I would go with a size t, I guess. So let's go to Copilot this time. Copilot knows about the context. So I can ask here Copilot, fix. I can also ask optimize. You know what? I do have an optimization here. If I will ask optimize, maybe it would do both. Do you see the optimization that is required? Oh, STLN is not working. Let's add the proper include. Include, yes, include iostream. Give me iostream. And systring. Yeah, systring is for the. Okay, so I want you to see whether there is something which is not as efficient as it can be. Where can you see it? Where can you see it? This is the distractor delegation. The code is, the font is too big to follow, but somewhere we'll see it. Oh, yeah. This line is not the most efficient way to do that. Why? Because we know the size already. And if you know the size, you don't need to look for the null terminator. You can just memcopy. Or instead, you can call studcopy, which probably does the same. No need to look for. So I will go for / and then optimize, okay? I can say I want to optimize, my string, which is the proper file. I can, is on my string, but I can say it. And it will think, and then it will present some ideas that I can get or not. I can, okay. This is what it says. Yeah, size t. Now, size t is not optimization, but it got the size t also as a suggestion. Let me show you. And other proposals. I think that it will catch the, studcopy. Instead of the str copy, studcopy would do better because it just takes the chunk. Eventually, it's like a memcopy call, which I would even prefer. So when it would stop thinking, I would just say, yeah, I want it. It seems better. I think that I would like to have it. It still thinks. Oh, yeah, it's here. So preview. I want to. And once I press the preview, it shows me how it can be integrated into my code. It shows me this compared to the other. I don't see the entire thing here, but if I accept, it just made a mess. by putting them together. And now I can copy it and put it there. Somehow it works, not always as I want. The idea is clear. I will do just an undo to go back to the original thing. I hope that I have it. Yes. Another thing that I can ask is very simple thing, test. Okay? Tests. Let's go with tests. And it will write some tests for the... It knows that I want G-test because I was using G-test before. Okay? Otherwise, it would just, create some test with simple asserts. I got here quite a nice tests. I can then send them to a new file, and I would say this is something, okay? So we played a bit with Copilot. It was not the entire thing, it was a bit, and we can continue, but it creates bugs. Well, also we have to debug our code. We have to debug the code of our colleagues, which is even worse. So yeah, we have to debug also code created by GenAI. That's the discussion here. The fact that something is creating bugs is not a reason to, I don't know, to sack them. Otherwise, we will all be sacked. I mean, yeah, we are going to use it even though it creates bugs. Oh, again, I'm pressing the wrong button. Oh. Bigger code challenges. Would it work with bigger code? I tend to think that it would, because it has the ability to, and it does. I mean, people work with that, with bigger projects. And it's not only GPT and Copilot. I just, played here with GPT and Copilot. There are other models. There are other tools. If you want a list of all the models, and there is a benchmark checking models on code challenges. And the percentage of the best model is now 85, 87% of solving the code challenges. Think about something similar to lit code, okay? Coming up with algorithms and solutions that solve, taking the problem, the literal description of the problem, and creating code that solves the problem. That's quite high. The links are there. Productivity of working with Copilot. Research by GitHub. They say that it is good. They surveyed users, and the users are quite happy. I mean, it makes people more productive. Testimonials from a user group that I'm in, I asked, are you using GenAI? Does it help you? And I got, yeah, I had an issue with something, and it solved me the issue. I asked, people use it, it works. So I think that we can summarize and open for a discussion. Do you work with LLM on your code? Do you think that you will work with it? Would you count on code that is provided by a model? What do you say?
It looks to me like, I mean, I'm really interested in the test generation. That's a significant cost for us in terms of you're doing feature development, and then, oh, you've got to get tests done as well. It's very easy to let that slide if you're not careful. And it seems to me as long as you're working with stuff that already exists, it works better than trying to worry about making new things. I think that's...
Okay, I will react to both comments, thank you. For tests, there is something special about tests. And the something special about tests is that usually it is okay if we have code duplications in tests, if the test is not, it doesn't have the fancy design, because eventually we want to see what you're testing and to see the code, which is something that these models are quite good with. So yeah, tests are simple things that the models can provide. As of the question of new code versus working on existing code, my experience is that it is good in both and crappy in both in some cases. So, yeah. The mic? Oh, yeah.
So the examples you've given are the errors made by GPT have been very much what I'd expect from a rather junior developer. Now, I'm happy prompting a junior developer in the expectation that they will develop and become more useful and more reliable. Is that something that we can expect from GPT?
That's a question. So the comment is that when you work with a junior, and this is what you get, at least you have the expectations or the hope that the junior would become a senior, that the junior would improve. Would it be the case with GPT? Well, if the model becomes better, not with the same model, the model is, narrowed by the context that it can get. So it's not that it will learn you and become more sophisticated. No, but maybe newer models. And now the question is, would you work with such a junior if you know that it will never become better? That's a question.
I was wondering, when writing tests with an LLM, should it be a general practice to take another LLM than that you use for creating the code, because the creator is biased?
I'm with you on that. I think that very usable model might be to use one LLM to create a code and another one to test the code. I mean, it's like, let my lawyer speak with your lawyer, let this LLM check this LLM, and if they are fine, just ship it. But yeah, probably if you use the same one to check itself, it might be that, and even so, you should review the tests. So if you review the tests and the tests are valid and the test pass, then you're probably fine.
Actually, the tests, I have a problem. Because if the test is generated before the code, then I can decide that I'm actually writing the test and then generate the code. If it is generated after, so I write some code and say, test it, whatever bugs are in it are features.
Oh, that's...
And that's a major problem I have. And with the duplication, I have another problem, because duplicating the production code in the test code, testing something with itself, if there is a bug, becomes a feature again. So I'm dubious about all this, using this for tests and trusting it.
That's an important point. I mean, when the model sees the code that it needs to test, then the test actually tests what it sees and not the requirements, which probably is what we do. But again, if we review the test, we can see that, no, this is not what we want to actually check. So I'm with you, yeah, there is an issue. There is a question whether a test can be provided, can be written based only on the code. That's a question.
So I'm pretty much using it, and I'm sometimes impressed with what it can do. Sometimes it lacks, but like with everything. The bottom line is it helps me. And I think that the problem is not like we write it to write something and then we look at the result and judge it. I don't think that's the useful thing. Is how much can it help? And I think that's a good measure that we can have. And for me, the amount of thing that it can help me is to produce reasonable code. So I think that's a much better way of looking at it. I don't want to produce optimized code. I don't want to produce code that fits on the slide. I want to produce something that I can reason about and I can judge whether it's good or bad. And if it's bad, then I can suggest maybe to it to improve it, or I can fix it myself.
I think the message is don't be judgmental, even for machines. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Thank you. We'll go to the next chapter. Is C++ special? It is going to be a very short discussion, a very short chapter. And we want to ask a question, is there something special for C++ compared to other languages? So maybe Python programmers should look for other jobs, but we are secured. I don't know. So this is, maybe you know this. Are we there? There are many reasons that we may be there. I don't know. We are not there still. So the question is there any specific thing special for C++? In what sense? Maybe it is easier to generate valid Python code than C++. Maybe C++ is too complicated. So it might be a good thing for us. or it might be a disadvantage, because if it is too complicated, it means that we will not have the ability to use the LLM, so projects and companies will move to other languages. So first and foremost, C++ problem domain is a bit more difficult. Let's start with that. We're usually dealing with more sophisticated, complicated problem domain compared to other languages, compared to JavaScript, Python, in many cases. Okay, so yeah, it might be a bit more difficult because the problem domain is a bit more difficult, which is a good thing, again, for us in a way. So how can we utilize Gen AI if the problem domain is difficult? And the answer is decoupling, is breaking things into, the big thing is complicated. The machine, the model will not solve it for us. But if we, as humans, do the work of separating that for the services or the functions or the building blocks that we need, then the model would help. That's a good thing. Okay, we are the managers and we need the help of the machine. That's good. Maybe C++ is more complicated. And yes, let's admit, it's a bit more complicated compared to other languages. Can we do something with that? Guide the AI tool, for example, which C++ version to use? Yes, we should do that. I mean, when we ask something, and I need it to be using C++ 17. Yes, because if you would not say that, the same thing as you would have saying to a human programmer. You will get something with a wrong version. Maybe we need to check the result. Sure, we always need to check the result. C++ is more complicated. There is a tweet on that from Corentin. I will skip it. Maybe it would be better for us to use alternatives for C++ because the machine could do better with that. Maybe the machine can generate assembly directly. And then you can ask, how can it learn assembly? There isn't any public assembly out there. That's not an issue. We can compile the entire code base of C++ to assembly, then let the model learn the assembly, then get requirements and generate assembly. That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea because eventually somebody needs to read the code. You don't want to maintain assembly code generated by a model. No, so no, that's not the way. Maybe we should generate Python, then we would review Python, then maybe there would be a model translating Python to C++. I don't think so. I think that we'll stick with C++ for domains that need C++. So yeah, for me, maybe it would be better to generate Rust. Yeah, it might be. Because if the compiler is more capable of, catching issues, you're in the safe zone. It might be. So safer languages would have some advantage for generated code. A very short open discussion on this question. What do you think? Is C++ special? Or no, we are like all other languages. We should, we should not close our eyes. We should use Gen AI. Don't think about going to Python.
I would say C++ is special because its language structure, compared, for example, to Java, is much more involved. We have built a refactoring tooling for C++ in Java, and it's about an order of magnitude more complicated to get things done. And even then, you wouldn't be able to do it 100% correct because of the too many intricacies. Whereas we've seen refactoring tooling for Java for at least 2 decades now that works reasonably good enough.
Which means that it might be that that would be a driving force for preferring other languages just because the code generated for other languages might be better. I don't know. It's an open question. But we're still in C++. We see that the models can generate code also for C++. Maybe it would do better for other languages.
I have a concrete question. Do you perceive that AI models might help simplifying the existing code bases that we have?
Oh, we'll discuss that in a moment.
Oh,
the question was, I would phrase it as, would we have better or worse code quality?
Well, again, about the refactoring, I had a student trying to detect loop patterns and replace those by algorithm calls. And I think that would be a thing an AI could be trained with and try to attempt to achieve.
If we ask it to do that, yes, yes. Getting prepared. So, how can we prepare ourselves to the AI era? I will not go through all the bullets here, but I do want to ask, would it affect our daily work? Yes. Are you using AI tools? So yeah, it affects your daily work in a way. Should we be aware of security issues? Maybe the AI is trying to push breaches inside. They couldn't use it, push it manually, so maybe they... So I will open it for a discussion quite in a moment. There is a link discussing some suggested development skills. By the way, the most important skill for programmers that I predict would be, it's important today, it would become even more, is the ability, the skill of reading code. Today you write, you read. Reading becomes much more important. I mean, it is already much more important than the skill of writing code. If you are good in writing code and you don't like to read other people's code, you are in a bad position. Task management. Maybe we don't need team leaders, or at least the team leader can get some assistance by an automated tool that can take issues, dispatch the issues to the proper team member, open a case in Jira, close the case in Jira, make sure that fix is integrated into relevant target versions. Yeah, it can be automated. It needs some logic. It's not easy. Yeah, but AI can assist. Code quality. Would it improve code quality or not? So, yeah, in a way, if we use it to trigger refactoring, so maybe we'll do some more refactoring. There is a research, the link is down there, that took code from 2020 and on and checked the patterns in code, okay, patterns of pull requests. And it shows that since time, there are more and more patterns of new code in open sources and the code snippets, the code projects that it checked, compared to updated code. So in a way, when we use Copilot, we tend to push new code instead of, let's assume, making a function more generic in order to accommodate a new use. No, let's just, push a new function because Copilot can do that. So our code might become less maintainable. We'll see more code duplication, it might be, because it is easier for the model to solve the issue by creating a new function or a new class rather than using an existing class and preserving some design coherence. So that's an issue that we have to tackle probably by refactoring. Black box areas in code. You should be aware that the black box is a bad thing. You must test it, and you must think about that. Using external code, we would be using external code back then by typing it from a book. But when you type it from a book, because this was how people took code before the internet, you think about what you type. Then we would copy it from the web. But then you still have to think, what should I copy? Maybe I have copy-paste mistakes. But here, the understanding and involvement even gets lower because, oh, I just got the code. Did you read the code? No, I continue. When you take it from the web, probably you read it in a way because you need to know what to copy. Here, it is just pasted, injected. So we have to take that into account. The involvement of us, not of the colleagues, also them, but us. We have to take into account that it is lower, so we have to make attention to that. There is the fast and slow thinking. We are using here the fast system, and we have to be on the slow system of wait, take a look, think about it. Which one do we use when you assimilate code snippets? Usually the fast one. you should use the slow one. Code quality positive points. Using Copilot encourages us for using meaningful function names in order to get the proper code. Comments, which are not always the best comments, because it will be the comment of what I wanted to achieve and not the why. Usually a good comment is the why, not the what I want to achieve. I'm not sure that we'll have the best comments, but at least we'll have some comments. We can ask Copilot to document the code. We can ask it to explain the code. We can ask it to refactor the code, but we have to do that. Safety and security, we have to take that into account. We don't want another XZ backdoor. We'll get it. Because it takes ideas from somewhere. Somebody will push something maybe. So getting prepared, let's summarize. Use AI models for tasks, but don't treat it as somebody else's code. It's yours. And that's time for one or more. It's not, we still have the 7th chapter. So 1 or 2 comments. I see here one.
I think in regards to how code quality will be affected, I think one problem will be created with how we train these models. So once you start relying on the output of those models, you will have less percentage of content created by a human.
So the problem would even become worse when the models will learn their own code. Might be. Yes.
Just a comment about security. Some time ago, I read some research about people, some researchers that actually exploited hallucinations to create backdoors. Basically, prompting ChatGPT, find me this Node.js package to do this. ChatGPT invented something like he did in your C++ example, and then they created the something. And basically, the theory was, if there are enough people with similar prompts, we are in business.
Exactly. Conclusions. So don't ignore it, even if you think otherwise. Even if you think that it doesn't actually produce any good, it probably does. You should use it. You should find the proper tool, start using GenAI. Think how it is going to affect your environment and adjust, find ways to utilize LLM in your business. Though current results may not always be perfect, you can control that with better prompts. I mean, be decisive, be consistent, go again, ask for another thing. The models are improving, and you should break things into smaller tasks. As we work with juniors, if something is too big, let's try it in a smaller scale. Never rely on anything without reviewing it, trust nothing. The skill of reading code becomes even more important than ever. Read the code and ask the other model to test it. Avoid bad AI proposals. You can ask it, you don't have to please me. You can add that to the prompt. Note that it might be undoable. You can add it to the prompt, because if it is undoable, you don't want the machine to try again and again to give you things that doesn't work. If it is not possible, answer that it is not possible and explain why. So you give the machine the ability to get off the tree. How can LLM become even better? Well, we spoke about the first one. It can run and compile the code. Yeah, there are tools who do that already. Maybe we can feed it with high-quality data. Well, the models try to feed it with high-quality data. Yeah, they try to prefer the answers in Stack Overflow that were accepted, I guess. Maybe it can propagate the confidence level, and it does have already. GPT-4 can give you the confidence level of the result, and then you can use it. If the confidence level is too low, you would invest some more attention in that. And the fourth one, I didn't read anything about this idea. Maybe we should also, there are things that are trained mainly for unpolitically correct behavior. Train it with bad answers. Take bad answers from lit code that didn't solve the algorithm, or solved it with the bad performance, and give it as, this is the solution, but not the best one. Okay, models will do that. Maybe they are doing that already. Credit notes, Joel Monroe discussed many of the slides with me. Yogev Shani contributed some of the slides and ideas for the Copilot. Alex gave a very similar presentation with me in CVS Now 2023. Additional resources, you will not be able to read it here. You will get the slides. And that's it. Last round of comments, if anybody wants to add something. I see some hands here.
Thanks very much for that. I agree very, very much with what you were saying about learning to read code better. So I've been using Copilot now for quite a while. And what I've learned is that if I get it to produce a large amount of code in one go, that will often have really subtle bugs in it. And those bugs can often be that the comment that explains what's happening is very slightly different to what actually is happening. And if you're reading through that, you can be swayed by what's happening in the comment and get confused about what it's actually doing. But when it produces a lot of code, it can be really helpful because it gives you an approach that you might not have thought of. So I find it's very helpful to get it to generate all that code, look at the approach, then delete it all, and start bit by bit and get Copilot to fill in line by line or something like that as you're going. Yeah.
Thank you. I agree. I don't see any other hands. So I do encourage you to use the break or back when you're back home and start, if you're not using Copilot or any other GenAI model, start doing that because this is going to be the future. We will be programming with these tools. They will improve. And still in the coming years, there will be ACCU with songs and with us here. Thank you very much all. Thank you.